As we move through the 21st century, we're going to have more and more species that are conservation species. They only exist because we've conserved them. And we have to understand that the planet, we've domesticated the planet. And we as a human will be deciding what stays and what can't be saved. And the more that we benchmark, the more that we collaborate, greater synergies can occur for actually conserving and doing greater and larger efforts in conservation of species worldwide.
We are so excited to offer this benchmarking tool to highlight the plant conservation activities your garden already does. The tool provides great information for your garden. It tells you how you compare with peer institutions for each question. And one amazing thing, the questions are aligned with targets within the North American Botanic Garden Strategy for Plant Conservation.
The Conservation and Biodiversity Benchmarking tool is really valuable in two directions. It allows you to understand what the assets and resources are that you're putting into your institution's conservation activities, but it also allows you to contribute to an understanding of what the outcomes, what the impacts are of your institution's activities.
In this day and age, it's essential that we understand what our progress is towards conservation issues. Thinking about the various targets for the global strategy for plant conservation, knowing simply how many plants you might have in your collection that are threatened, rare, and endangered. How many do you have now? How many might you have tomorrow? The only way you're ever going to understand how you're making progress towards these is to constantly go in and benchmark. Assess what you've got now, set some goals, come back in the next year. And also compare that with what other gardens might be doing, maybe even gain some ideas. And I think some of the benchmarking tools that we have available to us now enable us to make this progress.
Benchmarking of conservation is really important for public gardens, and it's important for really all teams in a public garden. So it's important for a science team to be able to understand what gaps that exist in the research that they're doing. It's important for the horticulture team to understand what plants they need to be including in the living collection. It's important for the education team to understand which plants and what conservation efforts they're going to be educating the public about. And it's important for the rest of the garden, the marketing people, the development people, to understand what conservation work is being done by the garden, what gaps exist, and where opportunities might exist.
Gardens practice conservation in a whole bunch of different ways, but few gardens totally recognize that contribution, much less relate it to a more global point of view. The joint American Public Gardens Association and Botanic Gardens Conservation International Plant Conservation and Biodiversity Benchmarking Platform establishes a new era where gardens can measure their activities and establish themselves as peers and leaders in conservation. They can take the conservation efforts that they perform at a local scale, translate it to a national or even regional scale, but also more importantly to a global scale.
So join hundreds of our fellow gardens across Canada, the US, and Mexico to measure our collective conservation capacity and make sure that no species goes extinct under our watch.